How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your May 2019 horoscope for Virgo, Sun, and Rising. Thank you guys so much for being here and liking and sharing and commenting and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys. This month, we're going to be faced with a lot of, I don't want to say like difficulty or challenges. I think that's definitely going to be a part of the picture, but I've been using the story of more of since January when we had the first set of eclipses and into July when we have the next set of eclipses. This is kind of the turning point in the narrative, and this is when you're going to start seeing a lot more shifts kind of play out, and I feel like that's what a lot of May's theme is really going to be. So starting off May, at the end of April and into the beginning of May, we have Saturn stationing retrograde. Now, Saturn's been in Capricorn for like a year, a little over a year now, actually like 2 years. Not Capricorn. And Saturn has been direct in Capricorn for the past few months. Now, Saturn, when it's direct, is basically giving you obstacles, barriers, walls, challenges, limitations. And when Saturn stations retrograde, this is a time to take on those challenges that Saturn presented to you and basically learn how to overcome them, discipline yourself, give yourself more, basically put in more hard work. Another way to look at it is when Saturn stations retrograde, this is going to be a time of taking on a greater sense of responsibility with whatever house that Saturn is occupying right now. And for Virgo, right now that is the 5th house of love, romance, sex, children, art, music, creativity, all of the fun stuff. And as Saturn's been there and it's given you more obstacles and challenges to work with and really helping you kind of realize, what structures do you have in place there. Saturn stationing retrograde is kind of like, okay, what structures need to be, not necessarily destroyed or anything like that, but reconstructed. What responsibility needs to be taken on here, and how much more can you kind of like invest more of like a seriousness in that. Now, moving forward, on May 4th, we're going to have the new moon in Taurus. This is happening in your 9th house, and this is super positive. Now, when you have a new moon, it's when you have both of the luminaries in the same sign. So they're focused on one area of your chart, on one archetype, and this is kind of like resetting intentions. This is cooling down the waters and getting things kind of chill and ready. Now, the sign of Taurus is all about growth. It's all about stability, security, and abundance of wealth, of, things that are luxurious, things that are nice. That's, it's kind of like the sign Taurus is basically is in the season of spring if you're in the northern hemisphere. And, during spring, you have everything growing and everything staying that way. Nature's taking its course to make sure everything stays growing and stays beautiful. And with this happening in your 9th house, this is about, the 9th house rules things like spirituality, philosophy, your beliefs, far distance travel, foreign relations, publishing. And so this new moon is going to be a really good time to reground and recenter yourself. Not necessarily recenter, but get more stable and secure in what your beliefs are and maybe ground yourself into something new that's refreshing. And the reason I say that is because a couple days later, we're going to have Mercury enter Taurus and go into your 9th house. So we have the planet of communication, intellect, logic, your mentality, also entering the sign of Taurus, where its main focus and priority is on those Taurian type archetypes of, stability, things are fixated, we're going this way, and it's got to be beautiful, and it's got to be, this, certain expectation I have on it. So Mercury's going to be doing its thing while it's in Taurus, but while it's going through your 9th house, this is again going to be focused on matters regarding, far distance travel, your spirituality, your beliefs about this world, as well as, if you're into publishing, if you're into foreign languages, if you're learning something. This also has to do with higher education. So if you're like, if you're like in college right now, this is definitely going to be like more stuff related to that. Now, 2 days later, we're going to have Mercury conjoin Uranus in the 9th house. And this is really important because Mercury, again, is that planet of communication, of messages. And as it goes on top of Uranus, this planet of liberation, breakthroughs, breakdowns, the unexpected, it's basically speaking the message of Uranus. So as you've had Uranus transit your 9th house, there's a lot of freedom and breakthroughs with your beliefs. And as Mercury conjoins it, this is basically going to be speaking the message of Uranus. So I would definitely expect a lot of, not even a whole lot, but definitely expect the unexpected on that day when it comes to 9th house activities. As we move forward a couple days later, we're also going to have Venus enter Taurus as well. And this is like super positive because Venus, the planet of love, money, relationships, bringing connections. She wants you to indulge. She wants you to have the best things, and she wants you to enjoy the things that you want and the things that you like. She's entering her home sign of Taurus, where she can do those things at a greater capacity, and she could do those things at the level that she wants to and that she intends to. And so as Venus enters Taurus and enters your ninth house, this is when you're going to be finding more stability and security and value in what your beliefs are and where you're taking those. Now, the next day on May 16th, we're also going to have Venus conjoin Uranus in Taurus in your ninth house. And this is kind of like electrifying that Venus energy. So while Venus is in your ninth house, if you're reading, if you're learning more, if you're traveling more, if you're being more spiritual, this is electrifying energy to get you grounded in this new sense of belief while Uranus is going through your ninth house. Also on May 16th, we have Mars entering Cancer. And this is pretty important. It's not super big on you guys, only because it's entering your 11th house. Now, Mars, of course, is the planet of action, drive, energy, what our focus is on, what we're doing. It's hot, it's dry, it severs, it cuts, it inflammates, it causes some frustration and anger. And Mars is going into the sign of Cancer, which is its sign of fall, meaning it doesn't operate super properly there. And when you have Mars in Cancer, Mars can't just do what it wants to do. The sign of Cancer is all about trust, intuition, protection, nurturing, and, being maternal. Now, as Mars goes into Cancer, this is where Mars has to act on the things that matter the most, that are of necessity, and that are of needing protection, that need to be defended. That's kind of Mars in Cancer's MO, is a lot of defensive stuff. And this is entering your 11th house of your friendships, of your social groups, and your networks. And also, this does have a little bit to do with career implications, because your midheaven can, of course, be in the 11th sign. However, this whole area is just kind of like the bigger masses of people. And as Mars goes through there, you may find some issues and you may find some problems within your friends and your social groups. But this is going to be the time to defend the ones that, that you need, that you trust. And this is also going to be a time to really focus on the friendships that you do need to nurture. As we move forward, on May 21st, we're going to have the Sun enter Gemini and Mercury enter Gemini and Mercury go Cazimi all in the same day. This is happening in your 10th house, which is all about your career, public vocation, the way the public views you, bigger life stuff. It's kind of like out in the open and everyone can see it. Now, this is the Sun, where we're talking about the light. The Sun's in your 10th house, so you're a little bit more focused on your career, a little bit more in your zone with your work. And Mercury, of course, the planet of communication. You guys are Virgo rising, so you're very much ruled by Mercury. You guys know what that's all about. And as Mercury goes into Gemini, it's also going into its home sign, where Mercury can operate really properly. But the best part about this is that Mercury is going to go Cazimi with the Sun. So it's basically getting purified by fire here. It's getting a download of information and energy and being clear on what the message that Mercury wants to get across is. So you might have had a lot of problems within your career or with your work while Mars transited Gemini, but while the Sun and Mercury in Gemini, this is definitely clearing those problems up that could have occurred. Then as we move later on into the month, on May 30th, we're going to have Mercury oppose Jupiter. And I think this is going to be interesting. It's not the biggest deal, but I do want to bring this up. Mercury, while it's in Gemini in the 10th house, it's doing all this great stuff in your work and your career, but it's going to be opposing Jupiter in your 4th house, where Jupiter is now retrograde. He's shown you, what idealism and what vision you might have for your living situation, because it's in your 4th house. Now as Jupiter retrogrades, this is about, going, what do I have to believe? What do I have to, trust? What do I have to have faith in? Where am I putting my faith in when it comes to the living situation? As Mercury opposes it, this is kind of like taking the stuff that's on the surface, that's on the outside, and going, is this sitting well with me? Is what's going on the outside reflective of the path that I want to be on the inside? And I think that's going to be a good thing for you guys to kind of reflect on at the end of the May. Then, by the time we get to May 31st, we're going to have Venus trine Saturn. I think this is going to be really awesome for you guys, because as Saturn's retrograding in Capricorn in your 5th house, taking on more responsibility and really taking on the obligations and the walls and the limitations you could face around 5th house stuff like love, romance, sex, children, art. Venus is in Taurus in your 9th house, where she's giving you a lot more grounded and stable and abundant sense of value for your beliefs and what you do believe. And as Venus trines Saturn, this is giving you a lot more of that belief and capability to give yourself some more love and to enjoy the process of change and to restructuring how you really do kind of like enjoy the things that you enjoy. That's kind of like Saturn in the 5th. So with that being said, that's what I got for you guys. So thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll be seeing you next month.